In the end, Wei Wuxian was dragged to the sword testing hall. He knelt on the ground with a blank expression, his swollen eyelids drooping, and remained silent. Madame Yu, seeing his indifferent attitude, became even more infuriated and unleashed a torrent of verbal abuse on him. After days of isolation, Wei Wuxian hadn't heard a single human voice, and as soon as he emerged, the loud rebukes made his eardrums ache. His face twisted in pain, and his kneeling body was almost knocked sideways by Madame Yu's furious outburst. Yet, he offered no resistance and silently endured her reprimands. Strangely, after a while, he started to feel somewhat better, and a bit of color returned to his face. Although he had no intention of detailing the conflicts between himself and Lan Wangji, he could not withstand the inquiries from his elders. Hence, he exaggeratedly recounted several anecdotes of being severely criticized for mistakes in Yunshin, being punished to kneel daily, terrifying meals, abnormal schedules, and receiving cold treatment everywhere. He painted a pathetic picture of being tormented to the point of being neither human nor ghost, forcing the Lan clan to kick him out so he could return to Lotus Pier. Jiang Cheng, having experienced firsthand the appalling rules of the Lan clan in Gusu during his studies, felt his scalp tingle and was transported back there just from hearing a few sentences. Although he knew that Wei Wuxian was mischievous, the Jiang clan of Yunmeng had always been lenient and generous. Seeing someone representing the Jiang family being relentlessly oppressed by the Lan clan evoked a feeling of displeasure in Jiang Cheng. He slammed the table and said, "The Lan clan's too bullying." He glanced at Wei Wuxian and added, "Didn't Lan Wangji support you?" Wei Wuxian gritted his teeth and replied, He'd love to nail me to his family's discipline stone and make me follow the rules." Madame Yu sneered, "You brought this upon yourself. The Lan clan did the right thing. It's high time someone curbed your unruly nature." Wei Wuxian was stifled by the reprimand and fell silent. Jiang Yanli looked at Wei Wuxian with pity and sighed, saying nothing as well. Ever since receiving Lan Qiren's letter, Jiang Fengmian had remained silent, deep in thought. Madame Yu, seeing that he still hadn't expressed an opinion, grew even angrier, suspecting that he intended to shield Wei Wuxian. Just as she was about to speak, Jiang Fengmian's gaze settled on Wei Wuxian. "It's my fault," he said. Everyone looked at him in astonishment. Jiang Fengmian seemed very disheartened, and his tone was clearly filled with guilt and apology. "It was my lack of consideration and my stubbornness that led to this. After hearing Mr. Lan's divination, I thought I was fulfilling Ying's parents' wishes without considering Ying's feelings. I should have foreseen this. The family styles of the Lan clan and the Jiang clan are very different, and Ying's personality especially is completely incompatible with the Lan clan. He was young and forcibly sent to such a place, and I expected him to adapt on his own. In the end, he either had to endure humiliation and compromise or, like now, clash head-on and suffer greatly. Ying," he said to Wei Wuxian, "Uncle Jiang owes you an apology." Wei Wuxian couldn't find any words to respond. The sword-testing hall fell into a deep silence, broken only after a long while by the sound of sighs. From that day on, although Wei Wuxian did not stay cooped up in his room, his condition did not improve much. He carried a wine bottle with him every day, getting drunk. He spent his days in a daze, either staring blankly by the water or wandering aimlessly through the streets, staggering. Concerned neighbors who recognized him would gather around to check on him, only to be pushed away by Wei Wuxian, nearly causing several stalls to be knocked over. The shop owners were terrified and quickly notified Lotus Pier. Jiang Cheng would always rush out, kick away the wine bottle from Wei Wuxian's hand, compensate and apologize to the concerned neighbors, then personally carry Wei Wuxian back home. Upon returning, they would often run into Madame Yu, who would scold them harshly. Jiang Cheng, seen as an accomplice for enabling Wei Wuxian, would also receive a share of the reprimand. Filled with pent-up frustration, Jiang Cheng was ready to tie Wei Wuxian up, saying, "A man should stand tall. If it's over, it's over. Why act like a lamenting and forsaken woman?" Wei Wuxian fell to the ground with a thud, dead drunk, muttering, Lan Zhan, I'll drink just a little, just a little." Don't be mad. Jiang Cheng, helpless, swallowed back the harsh words he was about to say and told his mother, give him some time. In Lan Qiren's letter, it was stated that Wei Wuxian had violated the 7 offenses, and he should have been expelled from the Lan clan. However, the statement was left incomplete. They waited a few more days, but still did not receive the formal letter of expulsion from the Lan clan. Madame Yu remarked, could it be that boy from the Lan family regretted? Jiang Cheng said, if he really can't bear to part, it's about time he came to pick him up. Hearing this, Wei Wuxian silently took another gulp of wine. In the end, Jiang Fengmian decided to personally visit Yunshin to settle the matter once and for all, and to return the box Wei Wuxian had stolen from the Lan clan. Before leaving, he said to Wei Wuxian, Ying, if you truly don't want to continue with Lan Wangji, then Uncle Jiang will propose a separation to the Lan clan on your behalf. No matter what they say, I will firmly express your feelings for you. As long as I'm here, no one can force you to return to Gusu. Wei Wuxian's hand holding the wine bottle shook unexpectedly, and then slowly lowered. He was silent for a long time before finally nodding. Jiang Fengmian returned to Lotus Pier early the next morning, followed by Lan Wangji, who seemed in a hurry. Lan Wangji's face was pale, and his eyes were puffy, as if he hadn't slept for days and nights. His legs were still somewhat stiff as he walked. Upon entering Lotus Pier, he quickly saluted the disciples and inquired about Wei Wuxian's whereabouts. The disciple said that senior brother had not yet get up and pointed in a direction. Lan Wangji instantly vanished like a shadow. The young disciple stood there in a daze, wondering if he should go and wake the senior brother. As he pondered, Jiang Fengmian approached gracefully from behind. The disciple asked who that distinguished guest with remarkable appearance was. Jiang Fengmian truthfully informed him. The disciple was dumbfounded, and after a moment, stammered while pointing in the direction Lan Wangji had gone. He is senior brother's husband, Lan Wangji? Wei Wuxian's room door was not locked. Lan Wangji gently pushed it open, and as soon as he stepped inside, he saw the scattered wine bottles and jars all over the floor. He stood still for a moment, then thoughtfully lowered his eyelashes, bent down to pick up a few bottles and gently placed them aside. Quietly, he walked to the bedside and saw a round, crumpled bundle. After a brief hesitation, he lifted a corner of it. A head twisted slightly, and sleepy eyes squinted against the morning sunlight, followed by a few murmured complaints. After a moment of drowsiness, the head retreated back into the blanket like a snail. Lan Wangji sat beside him, reached out and touched the exposed soft cheek. A slight stir in his heart made his breath seem infused with a gentle sweetness, like tiny bits of rock sugar dissolving with a tinkling sound. Carefully tugging at the blanket, inch by inch, his fair and slender fingers brushed away Wei Wuxian's messy black hair. His movements were incredibly gentle, as if handling a fragile treasure, not daring to make any sudden maneuvers. He held his breath and watched greedily for a while. Wei Wuxian had his eyes tightly closed, murmuring in his sleep, Lan Zhan. Lan Wangji hesitated slightly, then softly replied, I'm here. His deep, resonant voice was very close, resembling a gentle percussion on the eardrum, which seemed to reverberate within the heart, causing the softest part of the body to lightly tremble in response. Wei Wuxian's eyelashes trembled, and he half opened his eyes. In the midst of his haziness, he thought to himself, I've dreamt of Lan Zhan again. A hand emerged from under the blanket, grabbed onto Lan Wangji's sleeve, and gently pulled him into his embrace. Lan Wangji lifted the blanket and lay down beside Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian's fingers traced over his face for a while, with his light-colored eyes shimmering softly as he gazed intently into Lan Wangji's eyes. His gaze followed the movement of his fingertips, gently touching, pausing, and moving along bit by bit. He thought, this Lan Zhan feels so real. Wei Wuxian buried his face in Lan Wangji's neck, taking a deep breath. The crisp scent of sandalwood filled his lungs. Like an octopus, he stretched out his limbs, completely entangling himself around Lan Wangji, resting his head contentedly on Lan Wangji's chest, listening to the slow and steady heartbeat. Lan Wangji's breath hitched slightly as the warm body pressed against him through the fabric. The faint hint of alcohol mingled with the disturbed air around them. He took a deep breath, and unable to resist, he tightened his arms, holding the person in his embrace even closer.